Good evening. My name is Michael,
I'm Joel.
I'm Steven.
and we are Team 3 of Management 312.
Our slides are not advancing.
So our slides aren't advancing. Give us 1 second. There we go. So let's take a little bit of a background. We're going to go into a deep dive here of a specific scenario of how a different leadership approach, effectively turned a business around and brought its declining numbers onto a rise. So first, let's take a little bit of a background, take a back step. Why are we here in college? Why are we getting a degree? Why are we pursuing management? Effective leadership methods that we learn in these classes that we are taking can make or break an organization. These traits are crucial depending on the industry that you are in. As I said, they can make or break an organization, and that's a lot of weight to hold onto your shoulders. So depending on the industry, these styles can change. Our scenario, we're going to take a deep dive into a few of these styles and how they effectively helped a cybersecurity segment turn themselves around from declining numbers. So next, let's get into the scenario and take a brief look at it. So let's just give a brief background on the company. Novetta Solutions is the company that we explored. They're a mid-sized company, annual revenue is around $50 million. And specifically what we're looking at is their cybersecurity segment. This segment had seen a decline in numbers for the past 2 years. A specific manager had seen that I'd used an autocratic leadership approach that upper level management had seen that just wasn't effective for that segment anymore. Tensions had built between mid-level staff and this manager, and ultimately this manager was replaced with a Dr. James Dowd, who came in, used a more democratic leadership approach, which we'll explore more in this presentation, and turned around this specific cybersecurity segment and showed a higher increase in numbers throughout the quarters. The specific leadership methods that Dr. Dowd used were the LMX theory, the 5 key leadership behaviors, and also expert power. So in the end of this presentation, we're also going to compare and contrast that autocratic method that was used by the prior manager with the more democratic method that Dr. Dowd chose to use. So next, I'm going to pass the floor to Joel, who's going to go into a deeper dive on how Dr. Dowd used the LMX theory.
Okay, so the first method that Dr. Dowd used was the LMX theory, and this is defined as highlighting the importance of leader behaviors not just towards the group as a whole, but toward individuals on a personal basis. Now, the key thing that he enacted to use the LMX theory was he had these individual meetings in which after meeting with the whole group, he had individual meetings with each separate worker, and this allowed them to put more of an emphasis on the relationship going forward and gave them more trust and more responsibility. Now, the intrinsic motivation that the workers they wanted to have their voices to be heard and also more of an outcome on their final work. And this leadership style that he brought, the democratic leadership style, while using the LMX theory, led to them to maximize this feeling of intrinsic motivation. And lastly, the workers' response shows that the perspective of the workers and also the leaders matter. The autocratic leadership style was also proven to not work because of the low team morale and unsuccessful members for the team. Now, the next method that he used were the 5 key leadership behaviors. 1 is challenge the process, 2, inspire a shared vision, 3, enable others to act, 4, model the way, 5, encourage the heart. Now, by challenging the process, Dr. Dowd brought in a whole new leadership style in the democratic approach. And this challenged the process because now lower level employees were allowed to give their input to the leaders when making decisions. And this led to a more thought out process. 2, he inspired a shared vision. Now, obviously, with the autocratic approach, the leader is the one just making all the decisions with no input. So with this new democratic leadership style, he was able to make a vision that everyone had input on and could get behind. 3, enable others to act. This came about because of the LMX theory, and he allowed the workers to have more responsibility and trust, but he also gave them confidence so they could fulfill their jobs effectively. And lastly, number 5, encourage the heart. he knew that the employees were motivated intrinsically, so he exploited the democratic leadership style in order to get the most out of his employees. And now Stephen is going to take away with more methods.
Dr. Dowd, he did only use 4 of those traits, those leadership techniques, but he did use all 5 effective leadership traits. And we're going to start with going through those and looking at them. Number 1 was drive. Drive is considered maximum effort. Of course, if you've ever seen Daredevil, you know what that is. The ability to murder the most people you can get your hands on. But in this case, it is not just that, but it's the need for high achievement, constant striving for improvement, ambition, energy, tenacity, and initiative. You cannot make a team or take a team to a higher level without drive. Wow, I've turned like colors here. So drive is very important, and that is what Dr. Dowd used to improve his team. He came in and he had that leadership trait. Leadership motivation was another trait that he had. It was an extrovertedness and a need for power, meaning he came in and he took his team over. He didn't sit around. He didn't wait for them to come to him. He came in and he took over the power of the team and wanted to lead. The next step or the next trait is an important one. It's integrity. You cannot lead without integrity. You can try to lead without integrity, but your team is not going to follow. You have to have honesty and credibility. You have to be honest. You have to build trust with that honesty, and that leads to credibility. Make your words count, and make what you say and your actions follow that. The next one, on the next slide, self-confidence. He came in with self-confidence, and that changed his team. That's the ability to overcome obstacles, to make decisions, and instill confidence in others. If you can give other people confidence in themselves, it is going to improve everyone. It's going to make everyone on the team achieve more. It's also the ability to make a decision and stick to it. When you have a leader that's able to do that, like Dr. Dowd was, when he came in, he was able to make decisions and make them stick, and able to stand by those decisions. Now, finally, number 5 for this particular portion, the leadership trait number 5, knowledge of the business. This is expertise and knowledge of the industry that he's a part of. He knew what he was talking about. He had used competitive intelligence, which is knowing what your competitors are doing and being able to make the best decisions based on that, and also environmental scanning, which is when you take a bunch of information and try to turn that into something that you can use. I'm using a lot of hand movements right now. Let me skip to the next screen. Finally, to go along with that, thank you, expert power. That follows up with that trait of knowing, knowledge of your business. When you are an expert, your team is going to follow you. They're going to believe in you. They're going to trust you because they know that you know what you're talking about. That makes a big difference. I don't know if the previous person knew what they were talking about in the same way that Dr. Dowd did. Dr. Dowd came in and was able to have his team get things done and able to give them a track record of success and show them that track record. Since I'm done with this, I'm going to turn this over to Brunel, and she's going to talk about autocratic and democratic leadership.
Okay, thank you. As mentioned in the scenario, we use 2 types of leadership, the autocratic leadership and democratic leadership. And the autocratic leadership can be defined as a form of leadership in which the leader makes decisions on his or own and then announce to the group. Under the old manager, there were several issues. We had miscommunication because the manager was using one-way communication. There were no exchange between the employee and the manager. As mentioned in a scenario, there was tension between segment manager and the employee. The direction was not clear enough. Worker felt like their voice and their input wasn't considered at all. And there was a lack of consideration, lack of clarification on the task assigned. And the employee felt underestimated. They were complaining about not feeling as they have an impact in the overall outcome of the work. So now let's go to the second leadership type, which is democratic leadership, and that can be defined as a leadership style in which members of the group take a more participative role in the decision-making process. Everyone is given the opportunity to participate, ideas are exchanged, and the discussion is encouraged. Dr. James came up with a performance manager and a reward system that effectively address both the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation of employee under him. He also motivate people to transcend the personal interest for the good of the group. Importantly, the employee felt that their voice was heard and they had a specific goal setting, and overall the contribution of the employee has a big impact on the company result, which improve the Novata solution to a better place now. So now I'm going to pass over to Michael for the conclusion.
Thank you, Brunel. Okay, so after we've taken this deep dive into the scenario and explored these different approaches, what's the whole point of this? What we hope you learned today was how taking specific approaches can help a team succeed. Like I stated in the beginning, we're here to get that degree and learn these traits so that we may be effective leaders. We hope that you learned a lot about the LMX theory, the 5 different behaviors, the expert witness approach, and the 2 different leadership approaches, autocratic and democratic. We hope that you take this knowledge with you and see how it can help you improve in your day-to-day life. We thank you, and that concludes our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
How do we stop it?
I'm working on that.